been thinking a lot about creativity and originality recently as I work on songs for my second album. Who were the last great innovators in music? Who are today's truly original thinkers? Will there ever be someone like David Bowie again? These days, it can feel like there's nothing truly original anymore, that everything is just a reaction to something else. Post-rock, new metal. Originality in music isn't always rewarded. Sometimes it's those who make those little tweaks to an existing idea that triumph instead. The Rolling Stones made hundreds of millions of pounds, tweaking what the Delta bluesmen earned a few dollars for. The Chord song by Axis of Awesome, and more recently the Ed Sheeran lawsuit, which we'll get onto later, shows us how hit songs recycle the same chord pattern. So have we all run out of ideas? Does originality even matter anymore? When it comes to music, should authenticity be the focus instead? I was in the gym the other day and heard a pop song over the speakers, which Shazam told me was Some Say, the Felix Yen remix of a song by Nea. Yes, I hadn't heard of them either, but the melody is very recognisably the same as Eiffel's 65's Blue, that super mega Euro pop hit that you might remember from 1998. I'm blue, dabba-dee-dabba-die. Some say you will love me one day. Now, it's understandable to do this if you're working within a certain genre of music. Let's call this one basic club bangers. Why work hard on creating a new tune when you can pay a fee or royalty to license a pre-existing one that's not in the charts anymore, but carries a certain ingrained memory with it? People's ears prick up and there's recognition and a sense of enjoyment. It's win-win for both parties. And maybe it is, but it's also derivative and feeds into this encroaching sense that nothing feels fresh anymore, that everything is regurgitated. Musicians and artists have been borrowing ideas from each other pretty much since the dawn of humanity. Sometimes credited, sometimes not. Sometimes consciously, sometimes not. Led Zeppelin liberally borrowed lyrics, riffs, and even whole songs from Joan Baez, Muddy Waters, Willie Dixon, and Blind Willie Johnson. Smells Like Teen Spirit is basically More Than a Feeling, sped up. George Harrison was found guilty of unconsciously plagiarising He's So Fine, a 1963 hit song, for the Chiffons on My Sweet Lord. Ed Sheeran's been to court a few times, successfully defending against a claim he plagiarised Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On by showing that most musicians, in the West at least, are working within a pretty limited framework of just 7 notes in the diatonic scale, and there's only so many options of what goes together and sounds good. His win was an important landmark in modern music history, because a loss would have opened the floodgates for many, many more cases like this, especially as large companies acquire musicians' back catalogues and seek to protect their investment. Lyrics have a broader potential framework than music, but they're also really hard to write, given that there's only so many words that rhyme, only so many syllables that are technically possible to sing, and so on. Some rappers do incredible work in stretching the boundaries of what's vocally possible, and one thing I really like about rap is the way it's self-referential and rewards further listening, because rappers might include a line or phrase to reference a friend or rival's song, almost like lyrical sampling that falls under fair usage. And fair usage as a concept can open up some interesting opportunities too. There's quite a creative pop song from a few years ago called 2002 by Anne-Marie, co-written by Ed Sheeran, that's a nostalgic look back at the end of youth, that uses lines from famous noughties songs by Britney, Jay-Z, Nelly and NSYNC, mashed up into a new chorus. Here is my dramatic reading. Oops, I got 99 problems singing bye, bye, bye. Hold up. If you want to go and take a ride with me, you better hit me, baby, one more time. It works because it's a song about teenage nostalgia, so what better way to evoke those memories than snippets of music? This is known as interpolation. It's different to sampling because the snippet is reinterpreted and re-recorded rather than just directly lifted from the original. This practice has gone on for a long time. Shakespeare, for instance, borrowed the plots and even the titles from existing plays like Hamlet, King Lear, and Romeo and Juliet, but made them his own. Playwrights write new versions of classic plays all the time, tweaking and updating their references or radically reconstructing them. They remain relevant to contemporary audiences because the core stories are just so good. Books and films also tend to work within certain frameworks, like a 3 or 5 act structure, where the hero has to face and overcome some sort of conflict. Without that, there's no dramatic arc, no tension or action. This is not a new topic, of course, because nothing really is. The Ed Sheeran case, for example, has already been covered by my friends Rick Beato and Adam Neely, and no doubt many others I may never know about. The act of creating, whether you're in the public eye or not, can be a constant second-guessing of yourself and your ideas. In an interview to mark his 50th birthday, David Bowie had some advice for artists. Never play to the gallery. Always remember that the reason that you initially started working is that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society. I think it's terribly dangerous for an artist to fulfill other people's expectations. They generally produce their worst work when they do that. I completely see this in myself. I sometimes get stuck in my own head, acting as my own gatekeeper, shutting down ideas or feeling like I'm not qualified to talk about certain things. And it's easy to lose your creative momentum because you become so terrified of alienating your audience that you stop creating for yourself and become paralyzed by trying to imagine what they want. You stop being true to yourself. But I have to remind myself that an audience is not just a singular mass with a set of defined characteristics. They're complex individuals with different life experiences, different desires. And let's be real, this interaction isn't to a large crowd. It's just you and me. It's why I love this medium. It's the same with listening to a record. It's one-on-one. It's intimate. David Bowie's greatest gift was the ability to mix different elements into something new. He was a creative magpie, taking inspiration from books, films, plays, fashion, and art he loved. His creativity was a constant journey, always driving forward. I suppose for me as an artist, it wasn't just about expressing my work. I really wanted, more than anything else, to contribute in some way to the culture I was living in. It just seemed like a challenge to move it a little bit towards the way I thought it might be interesting to go. I think the conclusion I've come to in writing songs and making videos is that you have to make what interests you and show how you see the world, rather than making what you think will be popular. Because once you lose that authenticity, it is game over. So don't get too hung up on originality, but try and place the highest importance on authenticity and contributing to the culture, because that's what truly matters. Thank you so much for watching. If you're a musician or other kind of creative, then consider signing up to my new newsletter, The 21st Century Musician, for a weekly pep talk on creativity and navigating this new music industry together. It goes for all you aspiring creatives too. We're launching at the end of the month. And now I'm going to go and listen to some David Bowie, but I'll be seeing you here again really very soon.